So, can we start now, Akhilesh?
Yes, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Akhilesh, we are starting now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I think we are meeting for the first time for the this purpose of the class. I have this is the first course that I'm teaching to you. My name is Haren. Uh, in your classroom or in the institute, we have ever met before, but in the class, like for the purpose of the class, we are meeting for the first time. So I should welcome you all, and I hope all of you are staying safe at your home. In this semester, I have to teach you one course. The name of the course is Hydraulics and Hydraulic Machines. This is the second course of Water Resources Engineering. So, where is my presentation? You will, all of you will also be able to see this presentation. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I will be teaching you the course Hydraulics and Hydraulic Machines. Uh, Throughout the whole your curriculum or whole BTech, you study 4 courses related to water resources engineering, because there are different specializations. Few courses are related to structures, few courses are related to transportation engineering. So there are different types of specialization like geotechnical engineering, environmental engineering, and geoinformatics. Similar to that, there is also one specialization that is called water resources engineering. So till now you have studied the fluid mechanics course. So that was the first course. This is second course. And at this time we are not having the syllabus of 7th and 8th SEM, because we are following the syllabus of AKTU in your session. So we don't have the syllabus of 7th and 8th SEM. So we don't know which courses will be there. But as I'm thinking, you will also be studying two other courses of water resources engineering that will be related to water resources engineering 1 and water resources engineering 2. This is the second course. Okay. So whatever concepts or analytical ways you have studied in fluid mechanics, you will also see here. Okay. First, we look at what is in your syllabus. So we just start here. And the name of, I think, the name is Hydraulic Engineering and Machines. Okay. I'm also seeing this thing. In many years, you will find different names. Somewhere it is hydraulics and hydraulic machines. Sometimes hydraulic engineering and hydraulic machines. At this time, the name of the syllabus, but you will be studying the same thing in all. Okay. First 3 units are related to hydraulics. So actually, what you will be studying in hydraulics? If you look at this term hydraulic, this term hydraulic is made up of one term that is called, one Greek term that is called hydraulikos. Okay, this hydraulikos term consists of two terms, hydro plus holos. Okay, so it is consisting to the meaning of hydro. All of you know, hydro means water. So you will be looking for the water, and olos means conduit. Okay, olos means conduit. Conduit is something through which anything is flowing. Suppose water is flowing through the pipe, so pipe will be like a conduit. Water is also flowing through the river, so river will also be like a conduit. Conduit may be open conduit and closed conduit. Pipe is a type of closed conduit, and river you will consider it is open conduit. Okay, so what we have to study, we will be studying in hydraulics the flow of water through the open or and closed conduits. We will see that thing. Unit 1 is related to basic concepts related to hydraulics, and in that we will also be looking how to analyze the things and how to design the any channels, any open channel. We will be looking for that. So first 3 units are related to open channel flow or the hydraulics. Unit 2 is related to, again it is related to hydraulics. In that you will be most of the time we will be talking about the gradually varied flow. We will see different types of flow are there and how do we measure discharge and velocity. One thing you will also see, what you study in fluid mechanics, most of the time we are dealing with the pipe flow. Okay, some portion is related to open channel flow, but most of the time we are talking about the pipe flow, because the course fluid mechanics, people of other streams also study this course, fluid mechanics. So most of the time they are dealing with the pipe flow, stream flow, like that. But this hydraulics course is mainly dedicated to open channel flow, and unit 4 and 5 they are related to hydraulic machines. In the unit 3 we will be talking about the rapidly varied flow and open channel surge, that we will see later on what are actually they. Unit 4 and 5. Unit 4 is related to, first we will see the basic concepts related to hydraulic machines. In that we will be talking about the hydraulic pumps, different types of pumps and how they are operating. Actually, when we will be talking about the hydraulic machines, so these are the pumps. In unit 5, this unit is dedicated to hydraulic turbines, so design of the turbines. So these two are also very interesting things. As a civil engineer, you will not be studying that very deep design of these machines, but how they operate and how they are working principle, that we will see. Okay, so this all we have to study in whatever lectures will be needed. We will be looking for the things, okay, one by one. So now we start from very first unit, open channel flow. So first 3 units are related to open channels. Okay, how you can define the open channel flow? What is an open channel flow? You will simply say flow of water in which it is open to atmosphere is called open channel flow. You can also see flow of water in which it is open to or it is exposed to atmosphere. At least one surface should be open to atmosphere. So at the top surface everywhere, atmospheric pressure will be there. Like the rivers are the example of open channel flow in canals, that is also laboratory flumes. So there also example, flumes means open channels are there, you will see in the laboratory. Similar to that, if large dia pipes, okay, very huge pipes. I just give you a very good example. You when you go to bathroom or kitchen, you see 2 different types of pipes. One is called water supply pipes. If you are opening the tap and you are taking out the water, so that is coming through the small diameter pipe like 15 mm dia pipe, 20 mm dia pipe and 25 mm dia. When water is running through these pipes, these water supply pipes, so they are running full. When they are running full, it will come in the category of pipe flow. Okay, but pipe is not running full means the flow depth is not up to the flow depth is not covering the whole diameter of the pipe. Then so another one is water supply pipe and another pipe which are used for disposing the wastewater and sewage. So in that case, you will be saying they will also come in the category of open channel flow. Okay, so they are not running full. So in that also, at the top surface, atmospheric pressure is there. Okay, now we see what is the difference between pipe flow and open channel flow. Okay, difference between pipe flow and open channel flow. So pipe flow, you can also see when water is flowing. So what will be the direction of flow? How you decide? You will be deciding. Suppose water will be flowing from higher elevation to lower elevation. Suppose at some section datum head is large, at another section datum head is small. So it will be flowing from higher elevation to lower elevation. Okay. Similarly, water will also be flowing from high pressure to low pressure. Suppose at point 1 pressure is more, at point 2 pressure is small, then it will be flowing from point 1 to point 2. Okay. So pipe flow is mainly called the pressure flow. Okay. The main component in pipe flow is pressure. Water is, many times you see it is rising towards the upper portion of the building, so from ground floor to first floor, like that. So it is, you will be saying it will come in the category of pressure flow. Okay, main component is pressure. Another component is gravity. Okay, it is moving from high elevation to low elevation, so it is moving due to the gravity. So open channel flow is also called the gravity flow. Main component is gravity. If you sum these two components, the component due to pressure difference and component due to elevation difference, so summation of these two heads, pressure head plus gravity head is also known as datum head. So pressure head plus gravity head, this is called piezometric head. Okay, that you have already studied in fluid mechanics. We will not be going in the detail of that. So in open channel flow, main component is gravity, and pipe flow, the main component is pressure. Okay, now come to this open channel flow. So when we will be looking for the classification of open channel flow, so first we will see based on the flow properties. Okay, when water is flowing or any liquid is flowing, what are the properties? Okay, so these are written here, the flow properties. Okay, when water is flowing, it will be flowing with certain discharge. Discharge is also called the flow rate. Okay, so what is the flow rate? It will be, you can also define the discharge, like how much volume of water or amount of water is passing through in some duration, some time. So you also define it. The unit is also meter cube per second. In 1 second, how many meter cube water is flowing? So based on that, you will be deciding this. So discharge is flow property. When it is flowing, it will be having certain discharge. Velocity, similar to that, you have also studied the, you don't need to be confused, fluid properties. Okay, when any fluid is there, it will also be having certain properties. So when you start a very first class of the fluid mechanics, people talk about the fluid properties, like density is fluid property, specific weight is fluid property, sorry, a specific weight, you can say specific volume, specific gravity. These are the fluid property. How much viscosity is there? What is the compressibility of that liquid or that fluid? Okay, compressibility is generally, we talk about the compressibility in case of gases. In case of liquid, it is very small, so we generally don't talk about the compressibility in water or any other liquid. Okay, vapor pressure is also another fluid property. Surface tension is also. So these are the fluid properties, but now here we are talking about the flow property. Pressure is also fluid property. Okay, so when water is flowing through the pipe, so at a certain point it will be having certain pressure, so it will be defined. So how much pressure at that point is there. Okay. Generally, in open channel flow, because we have already told when water is flowing, so the surface is exposed to atmosphere. That's why at the top surface, atmospheric pressure is there. Okay. So everywhere pressure is same. So it is not moving due to the pressure difference. It is moving due to the slope of the channel, or it is moving due to the gravity head. Okay, there is some slope of the channel, so that's why it is moving from higher elevation to lower elevation. So in pipe flow, mainly we talk about this fluid property most of the time. Again, in pipe flow, the main component is pressure. But at that, in case of pipes also, if water is at higher elevation, so it will be moving from higher elevation to lower elevation. So that's why whenever anyone says or anyone asks the question, how you will decide the direction of the flow, then you will say piezometric head will decide the direction of flow. Means summation of gravity head and summation of pressure head. These two components will decide but water will move in which direction. Okay. In case of open channel flow, most of the time we will be talking about the flow depth. This is the fluid property. What is the flow depth and how do we measure that? So that we will see later on. Okay. Now we look at the channel properties, because in open channel flow, two terms are there. You can define or you can classify the open channel flow based on the flow properties and based on the channel properties. So if any channel is there, any river is there, any canal is there, all are similar terms. Okay. Stream is also similar to river. Streams are generally at a small scale, rivers are large. So when you see the longitudinal profile of the channel, this is this green line is the channel bed, because there is some bed over which water is flowing. So this is the bottom of the channel. Okay, this is the longitudinal profile, or you can say the side view. Generally, when you are looking any river, you will be looking from the side, because rivers are continuous flow of water in case of river. So generally you see from the side. This is the datum. This black line is for datum. This bed is having some slope with horizontal, so that is called bed slope. So in the longitudinal profile, it will be having certain bed slope. Any bed slope is there. So generally, the amount of this bed slope is very small, like 1 vertical in 1000 horizontal distance. So generally very small. Otherwise, if slope is very large, water will be flowing very fastly. So this is channel property. Again, water surface profile, this is not the channel property, but as we have discussed about the S0, so we should also, this is called hydraulic gradient line. This is the water surface profile, top surface of the water. And when we make some triangle like this and put 2 lines or 3 lines over below this triangle, this is the way of representing any water table. Okay, any hydraulic gradient line. So this is the hydraulic gradient line. So at any point, if you see the slope of this water surface profile, this is called SW. We denoted by SW is the water surface. S0 is for bed slope, SW is for water surface slope. This is hydraulic gradient line. Okay, this is energy gradient line, or we call total energy line. If you look at, this is the datum head, you can say at any point. This is the flow depth. Flow depth you can measure in 2 different ways. One way, or the best way to measure the flow depth, is in the vertical, that you can measure easily. Okay, you just put a rod or some device that we will see how do we measure. Some gauge readings are there, so we will, how do we measure that, we will see later on. Okay, there also you will see very interesting thing, because when pipes are generally they are having some very well designed shape, or they are in circular in shape, so it is very easy to measure the things in case of pipes. But rivers are having very irregular cross section, so it is not easy to measure the discharge velocity, these things in the in case of river, because river will be having very irregular cross section that we will see in the next slide. So everywhere the flow depth is also not uniform. Okay. So suppose let's say for example you are going to any river for swimming. So everywhere you are not getting the same depth. Very near to the bank, river banks, very small depth of water will be there. When you go in the middle of the river, you will get very large depth. So everywhere depth is also not uniform, or it is most of the time it is not having any equation or some straight line curve or like that. It will be having very irregular shape. Next is called friction slope of energy line. This is the energy line. You can say this is the flow depth, this is datum, this is for datum, and this is for kinetic head. If you take the summation of datum head plus flow depth and plus this kinetic head, so this will be telling you the total energy line or energy gradient line. The slope of this line, when you move from section 1 to section 1, if this is the direction of flow, okay, this is the direction of the flow, it is moving from left hand side to right hand side, then always energy will be reducing because there will be energy loss. Okay, so that's why I have drawn it like this. It is not necessary it is having the straight line. I was trying to draw it like that, so but I was not able to draw, so that's why I have drawn the straight line, but it is not necessary that it will be a straight line. And this long, suppose you are analyzing some portion of the channel, because rivers are very long or channels are very long, so you will be taking certain portion of that. This is also the basic difference when you are analyzing any solid or any liquid. Okay, in solid mechanics you have some well-defined elements, some solid element you are working on that. But when you are studying in the fluid mechanics or in hydraulics, you are not having some fluid element, some specific fluid element. You have continuous flow of water in river and pipes, so you will be analyzing certain volume of the water. So you may have also studied about the control volume, how much volume you select for the study. So this is the length of the reach, REACH. This is the reach. Okay, so for in which you are interested, the length of that is x. Okay, now we move to another. That was the longitudinal profile. Now if you look at any cross section, so it may be having any irregular shape. Okay, the channel may also be the man-made. Generally canals are, when you have the laboratory flumes, they are man-made, so they can also have very well-defined shape. So they may have also trapezoidal shape, rectangular shape, triangular shape. In case of pipe flow, when it comes in the category of open channel flow, so when it is not running full, so they are also having well-defined shape, circular pipes are there. Okay. So what are the channel properties here? So when any channel is there, you will be defining it is having certain width. So this bottom width, or I should write here bottom width, or simply width of the channel, it is denoted by B. These are the symbols that we will be using till end of this course. Top width, this is top width, because it is not necessary whatever is the width of the channel at the bottom, or it is in case of rectangular only you will be having top width and bottom width same, otherwise it is not same. When you have any triangular channel or trapezoidal channel, so these are called the side slopes. How do we represent the side slope? So we define 1 vertical is to m horizontal. In 1 vertical distance, how much horizontally distance is m? So if I just put here, okay. So this is the horizontal distance. Sorry. This is the vertical distance, and this is the horizontal. So 1 vertical is to m horizontal. Okay. So this is the way of defining any slope of the channel. You can also define it by the angle, but generally the better way to use it is 1 vertical is to m. In case of triangular channel also you will be having this type of shape, so it is better to use 1 vertical is to m horizontal. In this way you can define it. These two terms may be new to you, but you may have also studied some portion of open channel flow in fluid mechanics. So these are called the weighted perimeter. So weighted means how much area is weighted or how much perimeter is weighted. So although channel is up to this point, but we will be measuring up to the water level. Okay. Again, these are the showing the water surface profile. So I need to show it like I can draw this. It is not easy to draw the things over here. Okay. Weighted perimeter, you will see how much is this distance. Okay. This is the weighted perimeter. In case of this is the weighted perimeter, trapezoidal section. Weighted area means this whole area up to this weighted line, this free surface line. So in this also, this is the weighted area. We also define in case of open channel flow, when you have the rivers or you don't have certain like certain cross sectional property like diameter. So we define hydraulic radius and hydraulic diameter. Most of the time we deal with the hydraulic radius. Very or sometimes we will be talking about the hydraulic diameter also at certain places, but hydraulic most of the time we will be talking about the hydraulic radius. How to define this? This is weighted area divided by weighted perimeter. Okay, so if you divide the area by perimeter, so this is, if you divide area by top width, so it will be the hydraulic diameter. I have shown here, but I should show here BH because we are not using this most of the time. So we should use, so you can define it by BH. Okay. These were the channel properties. Now we will be classifying the open channel flow. So first, based on the channel properties. Okay. So based on the channel properties, it may be prismatic section or it may be non-prismatic channels. Okay. Prismatic channels and non-prismatic. What is the difference between them? If you are working in certain length of the channel, means certain reach of the channel. Okay. So in which you are working, if the cross-sectional area is uniform everywhere, it will come in the category of prismatic channels. Okay. If cross-sectional area is uniform everywhere, the cross-sectional area is not varying. At section 1, section 2, section 3, at all the sections, if same cross-section is there, so that they will come in the category of prismatic channel. For non-prismatic, you will say, if cross-section varies, it is not uniform everywhere, then you will say they will come in the category of non-prismatic. Generally, all the natural rivers, they will be the non-prismatic channels, because in case of natural river, they are having very irregular cross-section. So it is not possible that it may be prismatic. So you will, all the natural rivers, streams, they will come in the category of non-prismatic. Although the laboratory flumes, they are man-made, or canals are also man-made, so they can come if the cross-section is not varying with respect to space, then you can say they will come in the category of prismatic. Otherwise, it may also have, they are having different cross-section, so they can also come in the category of non-prismatic channels. This is already you can understand by yourself. Natural and man-made, all the rivers, streams, they are natural. Canals, laboratory flumes, they are the man-made channels. Next is stable and mobile boundary channels. Okay. Most of the time in this course, we will be talking about the stable channels. What is the meaning of that? When water is flowing through any channel, so it is coming in the contact of the bottom surface and side surface. So when it is flowing, suppose some soil is there and flow of water is also at very high velocity or water is flowing with large velocity, so it can also erode the soil particles which are on the side of the channel or bottom of the channel. So they will come in the category of mobile boundary channels. Okay, if boundary side boundary and bottom is stable, they will come in stable channels. Otherwise, if the soil is eroded from the uh, open channels, so they will come in the category of mobile boundary channels. When you will be studying about the design of the channels and irrigation engineering, at that time we will be talking about the, in this course it is not there. So in WRE1 you will be studying about the mobile boundary channels. Okay. Next is based on the flow properties. Okay, based on the flow properties. So we have seen 3 or 4 flow properties. In case of open channel flow, discharge is flow property. Next is velocity is flow property, and flow depth is flow. So these flow properties, first we see steady and unsteady flow. So what are the parameters on which these things will be depending? So first you can say it is space. Okay, if we are talking about the space, time, and randomness. These 3 are the parameters on which we will be defining how the flow properties are varying. If flow properties are varying with respect to time, then it will come in the category of unsteady or transient flow. Okay, if flow properties are varying with respect to time, if flow properties are not varying with respect to time, they are steady, it will come in the case of in the category of steady flow. Okay. Similarly, if the flow properties are varying with respect to space, it may also vary in x direction, y direction, and z direction. Generally, we have 3 dimensions. So if it is varying in x direction, y direction, and z direction, if it is varying, it will be called non-uniform flow or varied flow, or sometimes distributed flow. Okay, it is not uniform, it is varied flow. Okay, if flow properties are constant with respect to space, it will come in the category of uniform flow or lumped flow. Okay, we also use this term. Lumped flow properties means we are talking about the uniform flow properties. Okay, another thing is very important, randomness is also, we also need to account for this randomness. So when you will be analyzing anything in hydraulics, or when you will be studying about the hydrology, that is also another part of this water resources engineering that you will be studying in 5th or 7th sem. That will depend on the what will be the syllabus of 7th and 8th sem. So we also need to account for the, when you analyze the things. So there are 2 different approaches. One is called deterministic approach and another is called stochastic. If things are determined, we are not accounting for the randomness. Okay. So they will come in the category of deterministic. But if we have to account for randomness also, so it will come in the category of probabilistic or stochastic. Just for example, when you are dealing with laminar flow and turbulent flow, so in laminar flow, velocity is very small and you can say the flow particles are moving in a well-defined pattern. But in turbulent flow, they are not moving in well-defined way. So you will be finding out this should be velocity at this point, but always their randomness is associated. You will be saying this particle will be flowing through this position, but it is also, randomness is also associated. It can move, but with certain probability is there. So in that we will see later on. But in this course, always we will be talking about the deterministic approach. Okay. Next. Again, uniform flow is there. Another was the non-uniform flow or the buried flow. So you can also classify this buried flow. The flow depth, mainly the flow depth or velocity, they are varying gradually. It will come in the category of GVF, gradually varied flow. Okay, unit 2 is dedicated to gradually varied flow. Unit 1 is dedicated to uniform flow. Unit 3 is dedicated to rapidly varied flow. If flow properties varies in a very small length, or they are varying very large in a large manner or in a very small stretch, then it will come in the category of rapidly varied flow. Okay, suppose some short distance is there. Some short distance is there, okay, and it is moving like this. So in this much of distance it is like this, so it will come in the category of rapidly varied flow. And if it is like this or it is very small, so it will come in the category of gradually varied flow. Another type is spatially varied flow. Again, this is not in your syllabus. Generally, what happens at many times it also happens when the flow of river is there, at certain section some amount of flow is added or subtracted from the channel. Let's say, for example, water is flowing through the river, at the same time rainfall is also occurring. So when you are studying certain stress, so some amount of water is also added to that. So so that will come in the category of spatially varied flow. Generally, when we will be talking about the flow, most of the time discharge remains same. So if discharge is not getting added or not subtracted, so in the river flow, discharge, when we say the flow properties varies with respect to space or varies with respect to time, so in that case generally we are talking about the velocity and pressure or flow depth. Generally discharge remains same. Okay, it is not necessary, because discharge, if discharge is varying, it will come in the category of spatially varied flow. Okay, at the same time, suppose some river flow is there, but there is also seepage of the water. When water is flowing through any channel, okay, any channel, so there will also be the infiltration of the water. At this time, the term infiltration may be new to you when you will be studying the hydrology. So suppose water is flowing through over the ground surface, but some water is percolating or going into the ground, so that is called infiltration. So again, the amount of water may be subtracted. So we will be, and you can also consider, suppose this is the river flow. At certain portion you have off-taken the canal, so the flow is now this. So if you consider these two sections, so amount of discharge at these two sections is not uniform, is not same. Here it is Q1, suppose delta Q is subtracted from here into this canal, so here it will be Q2 equal to Q1 minus delta Q. Okay, or it may also happen at certain point this is added. So if discharge is varying, it will be the very special category that is called spatially varied flow. Okay, so for this we can have sometimes any other lecture, but this is not in your syllabus. Next is, okay, when you have any, so this was the classification of open channel flow, different types of open channel flow based on the channel properties and based on the flow properties. Now we start with how do we analyze the things. Let's say, for example, this is again very simple. This is datum line, this is the channel bed, this is free surface line or water surface profile, and this is the energy gradient line. Okay, this is hydraulic gradient line, this is energy gradient line. We show at any point, suppose this is the point in the river, so you will say this is the datum head. How much distant it is from the datum, how much is the elevation at this point, so you will say this is datum head. pressure head, generally we don't use this term in case of open channel flow. As I have already told you, this is the free surface, everywhere atmospheric pressure is there, so water is not moving due to the difference in the pressure. It is moving due to, because this slope is there. If this is horizontal channel, then it will not be moving like this. Okay, so it is moving due to this slope. This bed slope S0 is there, it is moving due to that. Okay, when you will be writing the how much pressure at any point is there or how much flow depth is there, generally you have studied about the Pascal's law and Torricelli's principle in fluid statics, in fluid mechanics. When you start the first unit or second unit, I'm not reminding at that time. So you study the Pascal law. What is the Pascal law? You will be saying again, they are the they are the laws for stationary fluid. Okay, so if any stationary fluid is there, it is not moving. Stationary means it is not moving. So pressure at a point will be equal from all the direction, and it will be directed towards that point at that point. Okay, so pressure is equal from all the direction. That's why flow is not there. It is not able to move. Okay, another Torricelli's principle is called, suppose this is the free surface, water surface, and if it is stationary, in case of this open channel flow, it is not stationary. I'm talking about the hydrostatics. Two things are there. One is hydrostatics, another is hydrodynamics. Okay, hydrodynamics when things are moving, hydrostatics means when the fluid is stationary. Okay, so in stationary fluid, as you go deeper, so the pressure acting at any point is directly proportional to flow depth. You also study one equation. I can also write here. P is equal to this is rho G H. Okay, this thing rho G H. I can use here Y because flow depth is in terms of Y. Rho G Y. So Py rho G will be the pressure head. So pressure head. I have written one line over here. Again, when we are dealing with the most of the time in case of uniform flow and gradually varied flow, when the flow velocity is not very large, this assumption is valid, or we can go with this assumption. Again, there are so many researches how much, although you will not be saying this is a stationary fluid, but if we apply this principle of hydrostatic, then there is not much difference, or there is not much error. So people use this hydrostatic pressure distribution in case of open channel flow, when it is uniform flow and gradually varied flow. When it is rapidly varied flow, this assumption will not be valid. Okay, so whatever are those two laws of hydrostatic pressure distribution, they will also be valid when we are analyzing for open channel flow. Okay, so I can write here, suppose at this point, this is the free surface, so we can say the atmospheric pressure is there. Generally, when you are talking about the pressure, so you have two different approaches. You can measure the gauge pressure or absolute pressure. Most of the time we don't talk about the absolute pressure. We always say this is P is equal to 0 at because this is in terms of gauge pressure, this will be the zero pressure line. Okay, atmospheric pressure line, zero pressure line. So as you go deeper, so at this point, if I say how much pressure is there, you will say 0. This flow depth is Y. So at this point, at the bottom, if this distance is Y, so you will say at this point the pressure will be rho Gy, and pressure head will be Y only. Okay, so at any point, how much distant it is from the free surface, you can measure the pressure head. Or generally at any point, how much is the flow depth? When we say the flow depth, it will be measuring from we will measure it from the free surface. We will never say how much this will be the height. If you say this point is at this much of height from the bottom, but when we use the flow depth, always it is measured from the top surface because As you go also in ground also below, you will say I'm at this much of depth, means you are measuring from the top surface. If I say how much is the piezometric head at this point, suppose this is how much is the pressure head at this point, so you will say it is 0. How much is datum head, so you will say this distance is z. Okay, this much of, because it is at this much of elevation. If I say how much is piezometric head here, you will take the summation of z plus y. Okay, so at this point I can write at this point, okay, the piezometric head will be z plus y. Okay. If I ask what is the piezometric head at this point, so first I will ask what is the pressure head at this point. You will say pressure will be y. How much flow depth is there? So this will be the pressure head, and datum is this much of z. Okay, I should also show here this much of depth is z. Okay, I'm not able to draw the arrow, and this flow depth is y. Up to this distance is y. Okay, so at this point the piezometric head is z plus y. At this point, at any point in this cross section, if you measure, everywhere you will find the piezometric head is z plus y. Okay, so at any certain section in the open channel flow, the pressure is uniform. The piezometric head is uniform, it is z plus y. If we are measuring at this point, so again you will be getting z plus y everywhere. So that's why again you can say water is flowing from higher piezometric head to lower piezometric head. Okay. When we have to write the expression for total energy, so generally total energy head is denoted by H. H is the symbol for total energy. Okay, H is equal to, it is not for the heat, it is for total energy. Z plus, we are not using the E symbol here because we have to use the symbol E. That is most of the time in open channel flow is used. That is called specific energy, that we will see later on. So H is equal to Z plus Y plus, this is the kinetic head. I have used here B bar square by 2g. B bar is the average velocity. When you will be studying in fluid mechanics, so if you look at any cross section, the velocity is not uniform throughout the whole. In the middle of the channel, it will be maximum velocity, and as you go towards the boundary or very near to boundary, the velocity, the water may be due to the viscosity effect. So the velocity is very small. Okay, so velocity is not uniform. So we will be talking about the average velocity. Okay, this is the way of defining total head. Next is again we are having some we are discussing about some basic concept here that is also necessary. You should understand that because what you study in the fluid mechanics and hydraulics, so when these two courses are very much related to, they are very much analytical courses. So when we are talking about the various types of forces, so there may be different types, there may be 1,000 types of forces, there are different types of forces, बहुत सारे force हो सकते हैं, but whatever forces are acting, this is the fluid element, fluid body is there, and whatever forces are acting from whichever direction, body forces are there. I have not written here, normal versus shear force, body forces are there. Okay, like gravity force is there. Okay. Electromagnetic force, so they come in the category of body force. So body force, this will be something like internal force, but normal force and shear force, suppose some forces are acting externally on this body, okay, or many times they may also be the part of body force, that we will be looking later on. So whatever forces are acting on this body, they can divide it into whether it is normal force. Normal force again may be in the form of compressible force or tensile force. Again, this is shear force. They are the tangential force and generally responsible for the movement of the body. We also use this term drag force and resistant force. Drag force are those forces which are responsible for the movement of the body. If body is moving, some kind of drag force will be acting on that body. That's why it is moving. Resistant force are those force, they are retarding the movement of the body. So they are the retarding force or resistant force, like friction force. Okay. Generally, when we analyze something, whatever forces are acting, we can put them in these 5 categories. Whether it will be gravity force, it will be pressure force, it will be surface tension force, it will be elastic force, viscous force. Already you have studied. You also study 5 different non-dimensional numbers. You can go through that. So they are also having different component, different type of forces. Okay, gravity force. Okay, in case of open channel flow, the main component is gravity force. In case of pipe flow, the main component is pressure force. Generally, when the surface is exposed to atmosphere, surface tension force will be also be there, because the particles which are on the top surface, they are having some tension. They are at the free surface, they are having some net force acting on them, so they are very easy to escape from the free surface. They are also evaporated. So there is also surface tension force. Okay. Next is elastic force. Generally, this is talked in case of the gases. In case of liquid, they are not compressible. So we generally don't talk about this. This amount of surface tension force is also very small, and whenever you will be talking about the surface tension, when specifically you are talking about the surface tension. But when we are accounting for any other forces, generally we neglect the surface tension force. Okay. Another, this is again this is very important force in case of fluids. Okay. In case of liquids, in case of fluids, this is very important force. Like the friction force in solid, this is a resistant force, viscous force. Okay. Similarly, there is also another type of force. You also listen this term inertia force. I also ask one question over here. I ask one question. Let's say, for example, okay, you have 2 different situations. You have 2 different types of problems, and you just have to think about that. I am giving you this question. I will not be telling you the answer. In the next class, we will be talking about that. Suppose there are 2 different cases. In the case 1, there is a body, and it is in the state of rest. The body is stationary. So you will say net force acting on that body is equal to 0. Net force acting on that body is equal to 0. That's why it is not moving. And when the body is moving with certain uniform velocity, when the acceleration is 0, so it is moving with constant velocity, uniform velocity. In that case, you will also say the net amount of force is equal to 0. Okay. When it is stationary, then net force acting on the body is 0. And when it is moving with uniform velocity, then also net force acting is equal to 0. The question is very simple. What is the difference between these 2 cases? When it is stationary, then also net force is equal to 0. When it is moving with constant velocity, then also net force is equal to 0. You think about that, what is actually happening. So in the next class, we will be meeting for that. Now, you may have also heard about the inertia force. I will also discuss this in the next class. Now we talk about the Reynolds number. Okay. Generally, there are also other non-dimensional numbers, dimensionless numbers, but these two are very much important in case of open channel flow, because this also having the gravity component. They are defined like v bar divided by square root of g into this d. Again, we can also replace it by dh. Okay, this is hydraulic diameter. This is the defining of this. In the Reynolds number, when you use this formula rho v bar, this is the ratio of or this is having the viscous force divided by the inertia forces. Okay, or inertia forces divided by the viscous forces. Okay, this one is correct. You can think about that. The question over here is this rho is the density of the liquid, v bar is average velocity at a certain, L is characteristic length, mu is the viscosity of the liquid. So L is the characteristic. This formula generally we use for Reynolds number. You know the derivation, how we can derive this. So this L is the characteristic length. In case of pipe flow, this L is replaced by diameter of the pipe, and you can easily calculate the Reynolds number, and based on that you will be able to find in the laboratory whether the pipe flow or whether it is whether pipe flow or open channel flow, it is in the category of laminar flow or turbulent flow. In case of pipe flow, if RE is more than 2000, the value of this RE is more than 2000, then you say it is the transition state and it is not the laminar flow. It is transiting toward the turbulent flow. But in case of open channel flow, the first question over here is you have to tell this for this L which expression we will be using this, because diameter is not available in case of open channel flow. So for this L, this characteristic length, what should I use over here? You just think about that. We will see. You can also check from the internet. Whatever you want to do, you can go through that. We will be talking about in the detail in the next class. Okay, and in the next class we will also see generally in case of open channel flow, when RE is very small, even 600 value is there, RE is equal to 600, then after 600 it is 601, 602, then you will not be able to maintain the laminar flow. So at a very small value it becomes turbulent flow. Why it is this? We will see in the next class. I think today we stop here. Okay, so today we stop here, and this was the very first class. So I think we have discussed about the classification or just basic concepts related to open channel flow. We will be continuing in the next lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.